Hi everyone, I'm Laura. I'm going to show you how to crochet these daisies. I tried to make this as beginner friendly as possible, but if you've never crocheted before, take a look at my videos called How to Crochet for Beginners and How to Crochet in the Round. If you'd like the written pattern, it's on my website. I'll leave the link in the description. So you're going to need double knit yarn in green, yellow and white. You'll need a 3mm crochet hook, a yarn needle, a stitch marker and some scissors. And you'll also need some green florist tape and some florist wire. So it just comes as a standard length. This is 36 centimeters and the thickness is 18 gauge. And you can just buy these online, they're quite easy to get. So I'll just take it out and show you what they look like. So you'll just need one for each daisy. So we're going to start with the back of the daisy. So in green, round one, we're going to make a magic ring. And we're going to do 6 single crochet in the magic ring. So we'll just take that short tail out and put it by the side. And then we'll do our single crochets underneath both of those strands. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And you count the V shape to count your stitches. And then you pull tight on that short tail to close the magic ring. And then we lift up our hook, take it out and put our marker in, as we do at the end of every round. And then put our hook back in and pull tight. So round 2, we're going to do an increase in every stitch. So an increase is 2 single crochet in 1 stitch, and we're going to have 12 stitches at the end of this round. So we take the marker out and do our last increase in that last stitch. And then put our marker back in. So round 3, we're going to single crochet in the next stitch, and then we're going to increase in the next stitch. And we're going to do that 6 times. So we'll do the section in brackets 6 times, and we'll have 18 stitches at the end of this round. So we take the marker out and do our last increase. And put our marker back in. And you can count your stitches, make sure you've got 18. So round 4 we're going to work in the front loops, and this is the loop which is closest to you. So this one is the back loop because it's furthest away. So we're going to be working in the front loops. So we're going to do a single crochet in every stitch. So every front loop around. And we'll still have 18 stitches at the end of this round. So we take the marker out, do our last single crochet. And you can see that's making it curve around, and if we fold it the other way you can see the back loops that are remaining, and we're going to use those in a minute. So now we're going to do a slip stitch through both loops of the next stitch. So push the hook in the stitch, yarn over and pull through, and then pull that loop through the loop on the hook. Then we're going to leave a bit of a tail and cut the yarn. And then we're going to fasten off. So yarn over and pull through the loop on the hook and pull through all the way, and then pull tight. So you can see these remaining back loops, and this is the one that we're going to be working in, so the one next to where we fastened off. So we're going to pull up a loop of yellow, so we're going to push the hook in that back loop, and then we just fold the yellow a few inches near to the end, put it onto our hook and pull through that loop. And then we're going to chain one, and this doesn't count as a stitch, it just secures it and gets it to the height we need. So then we're going to go back into that same loop and we're going to do a single crochet, and we're going to be working in these back loops for all of this round. So we're going to single crochet in the next stitch, so that's 2, and then we're going to increase in the next stitch, and we're going to do that 6 times until we have 24 stitches. So we're doing our last increase. And now we put the marker back in that last stitch that we did. So we're just going to ignore that chain one and we're going to go straight into the next stitch. So round 6, we're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches and then we're going to do an invisible decrease. So I'll show you how to do that. So to do an invisible decrease, we're going to be picking up the front loop of the next stitch and then we're going to point our hook down and pick up the front loop of the next stitch. So now we have 3 loops on our hook and we're going to yarn over and pull through those first 2 loops. So you can pull through one first and then the next if it makes it easier. Now we have 2 loops and we yarn over and pull through both loops. So now that has decreased and you can see the remaining back loops and you can see that diagonal edge. So we want to make sure we go into the next stitch and not that edge. So we're going to repeat that. We'll do that 6 times until we have 18 stitches. So we pick up the front loop and then the next front loop, yarn over and pull through those 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So they're not actually completely invisible, there is a bit of a difference, so it's got a little bit extra on the base compared to looking at a single crochet. So once you can identify them, it's helpful to be able to count how many stitches you've got in between your invisible decreases. So we've got 2 stitches remaining, so we take out the marker because the invisible decrease takes 2 stitches. And we'll do our last invisible decrease. And then we put the marker back in. So round 7, we're going to single crochet in the next stitch and then we're going to invisible decrease and we'll do that 6 times and we'll have 12 stitches at the end of this round. So put the marker back in and we can just push these short ends inside. I didn't stuff this part because I didn't find there was any need to, because it holds its shape anyway. Okay, so round 8, we're going to invisible decrease 6 times, and we'll have 6 stitches left at the end of the round, and this is the last round. So last invisible decrease. And then we cut the yarn, leaving enough tail to close that hole. And before we fasten off, I'm just going to slip stitch in the next front loop, and that just rounds it off instead of being like a step. So then we're going to fasten off and pull on that knot. And now we need to close that hole, so we thread the yarn onto our needle. I'm going to come up through the front loops, so there's one, and then we'll go back up the next one, and we're going to do this through we're going to do this through all of the 6 stitches, and then pull tight to close the hole, and that just draws all the stitches together. Now we need to find a loop close by, and we're going to fasten off. So we go through the loop, don't pull through all the way, leave a loop and go through that loop from behind and pull tight to create a knot. Then we're going to weave that through the middle of the magic ring, just come out at the side of the yellow part, and then we're going to cut the yarn close to the edge of the work and use the end of our needle to hide that end inside. So now we're going to do the petals, and with the yellow end facing us, we're going to go into that last green slip stitch that we did through both loops, and we're going to pull up a loop of white, and we're going to chain 7, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, and you can count them just to be sure. I'm going to work in the second chain from the hook, and we're going to single crochet in the next 6 stitches, so just in the side of those chains. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now just pull on that tail because it's not secured at the moment. Then we're going to make a slip stitch in the next green stitch. So push the hook in the stitch, yarn over and pull through, and then pull that loop through the loop on the hook. And now we're going to repeat that all the way around so that we have 18 petals, because we've got 18 stitches. So I'll just show you that a couple more times. So we chain 7, and then we start in the second chain from the hook, and we single crochet in the next 6 stitches. And then we slip stitch in the next green stitch. So you can pause the video and I'll meet you back when we get to this point here. So I've done my last petal of all the 18, and I'm going to slip stitch in that last stitch. And you can count your petals just to make sure. And then I'm going to leave a bit of a tail and fasten off. And you can just straighten out these edges because they do tend to curl around. Or if you like the effect of them curling round, you can just leave them. So now we're going to weave in all of our ends. So we just thread it onto the needle, weave through that green part, and the same with the white ones. And then we'll just trim all those ends. And use the end of our needle to push them in and hide them. So now we're going to take our florist wire. I'm going to measure 5 centimeters from the end, and we're going to bend it at that point. So just keep your thumb on it at that point and then bend it just like that. And then we're going to push that through the middle of the magic ring on the back. And we're going to come out in the space between that round and the next round. You might find, like me, that it starts pushing out your end pieces that you've sewn in, but not to worry. So then you push it to the bend, and then we're going to bend that short end so that it's close to the long end. Now we're going to take our florist tape. So when it's on the roll, it doesn't feel especially sticky, but when you start stretching it, and also with the heat of your hands, it will become very sticky, and that's what we want. So it'll be sticky on both sides. So we're going to start by pushing it through those two pieces, and we're going to secure it around one side. Now this is going to be a bit fiddly to start with. We want to be pulling it to stretch it, and then we're going to wrap this around the entire length. So we're going to pull it down at an angle so that it moves downwards rather than just winding around the same spot and getting thicker and thicker. So when you get to the end, just leave a little short piece and cut it at an angle and then fold it around. So then we're going to take the green yarn and we're going to leave several inches, and we're going to leave this so that we can sew that in later on. And we're going to begin right at the top. I'm going to wrap this around quite tightly, and because the tape is sticky, this is going to really help the yarn to stay in place. But it doesn't stay sticky for very long, so you need to do this quite soon after you've put the tape on. So we just wind that tightly all the way to the end, making sure that there aren't any gaps. And then when we get to the end, we're going to cut the yarn. I'm actually going to unwind that a bit and unwind some of the tape, and then I'll wrap that around that and then fold the tape around it. And we're going to need some more tape, so I'm just going to cut a little bit to wrap that around the end and secure it. So just make sure you stretch it again. And that should be nice and secure now. So now we thread that green tail onto our needle. And we make sure that it's wrapped around all the way to the top to cover all of that tape and wire. And then we find a loop nearby on that first round. And we're going to fasten off, so we're not going to pull through all the way. Leave a loop and go through the back of that loop and pull tight. And then we're going to weave that tail in and cut the yarn. I've also bent the wire at the point where it stops being two pieces, so at that 5 centimetre mark, so you can just bend it at a slight angle. So there we have it, we finished our daisy. You can make as many as you want. I made 3, and then you can display them in your favourite vase. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you'd like to share a photo with me of your daisies, I'd love to see it. You can tag me on Instagram at Laura_Wilson01. I also have an Etsy shop. I design and sell crochet patterns. So if you'd like to check that out, I'll leave the link in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.